Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so no basketball conversation right now. Saw something online, so I figured it would bring me to a conversation. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Just talk about something that has nothing to do with b-ball. I do that often. So welcome to Video 44's channel. So I was just watching something online. Wasn't a big deal, but it prompted me to conversation. I figured it could take me down a rabbit hole that would allow me to speak on some things. So here we go. But I was looking at a footage of Toosii, MC from New York, I believe it is, young fella, uh, famous for, if I'm not mistaken, creating the Toosii slide. I think that was his dance initially, uh, and he was with his lady. They were at some restaurant or something like that, and it looked like he was getting her some gifts for her 23rd or 24th birthday. I think 24th. But it was out of context for me because I only saw the little snippet. I think it was like a show or something. Maybe they were doing a reality show, or maybe they were doing some type of a documentary following him or something. I don't know. I really don't know what context it's from, but they were at the restaurant celebrating her birthday. He had brought her some gifts, uh, a necklace that they had that opened in front of her and her friend. I guess they were sitting there recording as she was opening the gifts, and he had put some cash in a bag as well. I think 24,000 or 25,000 for her birthday, whatever. 23, not certain. Sorry, but they were, and when I say they, I mean the comment section and the context from which it was snippeted was trying to point out that she did not look, and the word that they used was grateful. Didn't look excited. Didn't look this. Didn't look that. And the caption also said that he had explained after that had all taken place that, you know, her reaction, which people were commentating on because it didn't appear as if she was too excited about the gifts that were brought, despite them being very expensive gifts. He said that she's just not a naturally excited person. That's what was described in the caption. My thing was, and I was looking at the comments, of course, people were saying, oh, she's not grateful, you need to leave her. Oh, she ain't happy with him, this, that, and the third. I don't know how to read body language like that necessarily. I come to my conclusions, but don't mean I'm necessarily right. But I think the one thing that I took from the situation is, if I'm to assume that she wasn't happy, I didn't jump to the conclusion that she wanted more. And she could have wanted more, she could have wanted less. It could have been a situation where she was completely satisfied and happy, and her demeanor was natural for who her personality is. We've seen all kinds of different people. I've known people that get super excited when things have come for them, and I've known people like Kawhi Leonard who don't seem to change their facial expression for nothing. You know what I mean? And they're super happy. I myself felt like that yesterday, to where I was looking at myself in the mirror and it seemed like I was dragging around the house, but on the inside I felt really, really good. I don't have days like that too often, but it aligns because I can relate based on how I felt just very, very much yesterday. So what I'm telling you guys is this. The conclusion that I came to in watching the footage was, first of all, these are two young people. So whatever their mindsets are, it's going to elevate from here regardless. But I think it's when it's young people with young money, a lot of people like myself who don't have a lot of money can commentate on the side about how we feel people should be appreciative of certain things that we don't have, would like to afford, or what have you. But what came to mind in watching that footage was the opposite. And that's why I thought it was important to prompt, because to say what I had to say, rather, is because I think I do often take a different approach than a lot of people. I think I do take the left route when a lot of people are taking the right. And I think in this case, the vibes that were popping off of her was, this doesn't make me happy. Not the other way around. The gifts, to what I was vibing from based on her body language, made her feel uncomfortable, as if to some degree that wasn't all that necessary. I ain't gonna say she ain't worth it, because that would put on her something that I didn't take. That's not the thought. It didn't have nothing, the vibes that I got didn't have to do with her esteem within herself. It had to do with what she truly wanted from him. which, if my vibes was right, wasn't all that. She can appreciate all that, but the vibes that I got was that she's someone who doesn't know how to really receive all of that. Maybe she didn't receive all of that young, as a young person. Maybe she didn't grow up rich. Maybe she did. Maybe it's the opposite, and she was overwhelmed with gifts, and now she don't really want all that stuff. I think a lot of times we look at people in certain situations, we assume we know why they're there. You see a young girl with a famous young rapper, you automatically assume he's with her because she's pretty, she's with him because he got money, or the fame, or some combination of both. But when you dig deep into what people's stories are, you really don't know what prompts them to do certain things, and even behind the reasons behind why you might believe that they're there may be some different motivation behind even that. And what I mean by that is, picture the girl who was raised to only date rich people because the family she's from otherwise has raised her to believe that that's the only type of people she should be associating with. It never even allows her to go down the rabbit hole of other avenues. I liken it to the people who were raised in a household where they're homophobic. You never even got a chance to open up your mind to see if you would go down those other avenues because it was never allowed, and that is what it is. I kind of look at it like that, not necessarily projecting that reality onto her, but just telling you that's the type of vibes that I've gotten from people in situations where I've gathered the energy that I gathered from that screen and watching those folks there. In my history, what I've seen a lot of times is something totally different than what is surfaced. And sometimes people just want something else. It don't necessarily mean that they want more or less or even different. It's just in that moment, maybe their body language doesn't describe the feeling that they're in. Maybe they look at it like this, maybe as well. Here's another scenario that might make sense. My brain does this sometimes. Maybe it's just a flaw of my brain itself, but sometimes I'll get a joke, I'll catch the joke, I'll listen to the joke in my head again and chuckle, I'll listen to the joke again in my head and then crack up and finally actually get it. Now, I don't know why I'm like that. I don't know why I'm like that. I'll literally get the joke, but I'll be able to then formulate a whole picture in my head after getting the joke from there, and it becomes even more funny to me. What I'm saying is, some people could have ways of receiving gifts that way. Maybe she went home that night and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm loved this much," or something. Who knows? But in the moment, it didn't do that. Because in the moment, she's looking at her friend right there, so she's considering how her friend may feel in seeing her receive these expensive gifts and not getting them herself. So maybe that was part of the humility that I was sensing off of her that could have been seen as cattiness or not so interested in the gift, because she's showing it to her friend who's not being celebrated. You know, if you've ever been around somebody who is uncomfortable being celebrated, you understand that energy as well. They don't like parties. They don't like being the center of attention. They don't like the light shine on them. Even though they love the love, they don't like the setting. That could be something there as well. You know what I mean? So it's just a lot of different ways of looking at it. And I think that because I look at things a certain way, I can bring different angles that I know other people aren't talking about, because they're very busy jumping to conclusions about who she is, about who he is, and about what they should be doing together or not. And I just wanted to offer different scenarios that I didn't see in the comment section, or different point of views that I gathered from the vibes that I was receiving. She looked like she was pretty happy to me, but she looked like she had other things to consider. And I saw in the comment section, I thought something was funny, but it's another scenario that can make sense in situations with young people. It's like, maybe she saw his phone the night before. Maybe he don't know that she knows something, but she can't be all that happy because she knows something. And it's a lot of that stuff going on in young relationships. If you're in a long relationship, or if you've been in a young relationship, you know how that goes. And then last but not least, you're talking about a young 24-year-old. So there's always skepticism. Even when it ain't no cheating, you still in the back of your mind wondering, because you're young, and that's how it is when you're young. So I'm sure there's a lot to it than that, but I think at the end of the day, when the beauty fades, when this era ends, maybe the relationship stays together, that lasts forever. Maybe she goes through many relationships after this one, as most people do. She will remember moments like these where somebody did something really nice for her in an extravagant way. Because the truth of the matter is, unless you are dating somebody who's rich all the time, that is a luxury by very definition. If you're with somebody who can do those things for you, drop $25,000 for every year you've lived just in a bag, you know what I mean? Or drop however much for the necklace or what have you. Yeah, it holds some value. I think the money aspect of it is important, because when you consider how difficult it is for some people to make money, and you consider how easy it was for him to put that on the table, you got to consider that if you're one of those people in positions of privilege. Because once you, especially if you're someone like an MC or an athlete, I listen to the people like that and they say they go get money. I'm just gonna go get it. I'm gonna go get it. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna go get it because you have a very easy avenue toward it. If you was a snow shoveler or something worse, shoveling, you feel me? You would respect dollars much more because it ain't as easy to put them on the table. It ain't as, you know what I'm saying? 25 grand for some people will really change their lives. $23 for some people will really change their lives. And so when we receive gifts that are of an extravagant amount, especially if you're from a place of privilege, it is important to understand that a fraction of what that represents could put food on someone's table, could give someone an ability to get to their job, to and from, without some of the struggles that they go through every day. Give people opportunities to quit their jobs, situations they need to get out of, chase down dreams and things of that nature that otherwise can't be found because their time is represented in trying to chase down the money. People in jail who've taken big chances at big amounts of money because they can't get it no other way. They can't play no basketball, so they have to sell this, they have to do that. And they don't have their freedom no more because they was trying to get that amount. So that's what I would tell to the young lady is like, look, anybody and everybody in positions of privilege, if you got more than $100 in your bank account, there's something to be said for understanding that there's somebody out there who really needs it. And so that is what I think a lot of people in the comment section were reacting to. Half of them don't have the ability to throw 25 on the table, and half of them don't have the ability to appear ungrateful about it. Makes people feel away. I think it doesn't make me feel any kind of way, honestly. I don't value money that way. I value more so moments, people, peace, continuity within relationships, that kind of thing. That stuff really vibes with me. But as a man, I would love to be able to do what Toosii did as well. I would love to be able to provide massive amounts of gifts for people that I care about, or a loved one that I care about. If she's been on earth for 40 years, I want to be able to put 40 grand on the table or buy a $40 million house. You know, I think those type of things are great luxuries and can define the fullness of someone's affection for someone else. You know, but it often isn't reciprocated as such. Sometimes they just want you to do something even more extravagant or less. Sometimes they don't want you to do nothing at all, just be present more often. You know, I think about what Toosii's lifestyle has been just for the sheer nature that he's famous and be on the road. Probably ain't around as much as he'd like to be. So if there's any resentment in regards to the gifts, maybe it's because she don't see him as much as she'd like to. Maybe. You know what I mean? You think about something like that being possible in a lifestyle like that. You know what I mean? So it's one of those situations where it's like, yeah, it's nice to see all these things, but it would be nice to be in this restaurant more than once every 3 months. So who knows? You know, you don't know what people are going through, but one thing's for sure. There are a lot of different ways to interpret what to see there in that little snippet of situation. And it gave me so much to take from it, you know? Because I do know that people jump to certain conclusions very quickly. And most of the comment section was essentially just saying, she's not grateful. She wanted more. She didn't like the necklace. Or some variation of such. And all of that could be very true. She could be a spoiled person who said that necklace wasn't it. She would prefer a bigger necklace. Very easily that could be the case too. But I took something else and I wanted to bring it to you. So, shout out to Toosii and his lady there. Shout out to everybody back east. My name is BDF44. Thank you all for watching.